Ape management is in the hands of the apes. Many officials are either dead or held hostage, and the main band of rioting apes are at this very moment marching on the city. It's been established that the ape mob is under the command of a supernormally intelligent chimpanzee who has acquired the power of speech.
Before Star Wars was a huge hit in 1977, science fiction didn't make much money at the box office. Only 3 films came remotely close to that kind of profit. Frankenstein in 1931, 2001 A Space Odyssey, and Planet of the Apes. Besides Star Wars, only one of those franchises is still going strong today.
Smile.
The original Planet of the Apes had 4 sequels, a TV show, and a series of comic books until the original got a remake in 2001 and a prequel trilogy that kicked off in 2011. Now, in 2017, the final film in that prequel trilogy completes the backstory, bringing us full circle to the original film in 1968. But before I give my thoughts on the new film, let's take a look at some of the history first.
Look! It's a man!
In heaven's name, get rid of that creature! Catch him!
Planet of the Apes was originally a French novel that was adapted into a feature film. It explored issues of race, the Cold War, and animal rights. Rod Serling wrote the screenplay, and many consider the movie to be the unofficial last episode of the Twilight Zone TV show, which Serling wrote and also hosted. This becomes clear with the classic twist ending that comes just 30 seconds before the ending, a staple of every Twilight Zone episode. The first film in 1968 was a huge hit and has since become a classic, mostly because it took a huge risk. If you think about it, it's not easy to make a movie about talking monkeys and have an audience take it seriously. The film used the best makeup and special effects that Hollywood had at the time, which spawned an entire generation of makeup artists. The story was just as good. It plays out like a mystery. It asks you to be a detective, eventually pointing you to the big ending reveal. I love Charlton Heston's expression when he first sees them. The quote that everyone remembers from the film is a line of dialogue that he delivers during his capture, which comes as a complete shock to the apes.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
The line is powerful because to the apes, humans are the animals. In a world where the roles are reversed, the ability to speak was something they didn't think humans had the intelligence for. The classic line gets used in the remake and the prequels as well, just from different perspectives.
Take your stinking hands off me, you damn dirty human!
Take your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape!
When the mystery finally unfolds, the truth is revealed in a twist ending, and to this day remains to be one of the most iconic reveals in film history. In the final shot, Taylor and we as the audience discover that the planet has been Earth the entire time. As an actor, Heston has to pull off 2 reactions here. First, realizing that he's home, and second, being horrified at discovering the fate of humanity.
You maniacs! You blew it up!
The film's title, Planet of the Apes, suggests that the planet is different from Earth. So before actually seeing the film, people weren't expecting the twist.
The Forbidden Zone was once a paradise. Your breed made a desert of it.
Watching the film for the first time, you just see Dr. Zaius as a typical villain. But when you watch it again, you find out why. He's not just a villain, but a victim from a past war. A war where humans destroyed most of the planet. We were the villains the entire time. But some questions needed to be answered. Why did the humans and the apes get their roles switched? How did the apes become so intelligent? And why can't any of the humans speak? The original film explains none of this, and either does its 4 sequels. We wouldn't get that answered until the prequel trilogy, which started in 2011 with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. This is when we are introduced to Caesar and the drug ALZ-113.
Oh, he's a smart one, isn't he?
Caesar wasn't created for the prequel trilogy. He was a character from the first films.
The human way is violence and death.
We first meet Caesar as a baby in the second sequel, Escape from the Planet of the Apes. This movie takes place in the past, just years before the apes took over. Caesar is the one responsible for leading the rebellion of apes against the humans in Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, a time when they lived as slaves to the humans. All the apes felt mistreated, but without an intelligent leader like Caesar to lead them, a revolution would never take place. That's why Caesar's so important.
I thought you were a myth.
Well, I'm not. But I will tell you something that is. The belief that human beings are kind.
No, Caesar.
Like the character in the recent prequel trilogy, Caesar here is a passionate character. He thinks humans don't have the capacity to be kind, except for a few people.
There are some.
Oh, a handful perhaps, but not most of them. Oh, they won't learn to be kind until we force them to.
His closing speech at the end tells the audience what's to come.
From this day forward, my people will crouch and conspire and plot and plan for the inevitable day of man's downfall, the day when he finally and self-destructively turns his weapons against his own kind.
We won't see this unfold on screen until 2011. The final sequel, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, doesn't really have a lot of battle, but it tells about how the humans destroyed the world as they bombed each other.
The surface of the world was ravaged by the vilest war in human history. The great cities of the world split asunder and were flattened. And out of one such city, our Savior led a remnant of those who survived. His name was Caesar.
The TV show that came last had a smaller budget and different cast, except for Roddy McDowall, who played Caesar. The series only lasted 14 episodes and was canceled early due to low ratings. After the TV show was unsuccessful, the franchise went dormant for about 30 years until it got the reboot in 2001. Director Tim Burton continues the use of practical makeup effects, but this time they're much more advanced. The best thing was how they explained where the intelligent apes came from. The film starts off in the future, on a spaceship where the apes are being experimented on in a lab. They send one off to explore a new system and accidentally enter a wormhole which takes them far into the future. We then discover that the apes on this planet were really the descendants of the apes that we saw in the beginning of the film. The ship had crashed, and the apes that survived became the more intelligent species. The reboot today is almost completely forgotten. People are either watching the new films or the original ones.
Are you watching this?
This is unbelievable.
The prequel trilogy that started in 2011 fills in all the gaps. We finally get all of our questions answered from the first film. Why did the apes take over? Well, because of Alzheimer's, specifically the cure for it. ALZ-113 is the retrovirus that did it. Through animal testing, it was distributed to apes in order to enhance their brain activity. Here we are introduced to Caesar, but this time we get an explanation as to why the character is so smart. He inherits it from his mother Bright Eyes, who was pregnant at the time they were doing testing. The Planet of the Apes prequel trilogy is one of the best trilogies I think I've ever seen. And one of the things that makes it so impressive is the advancement of computer graphics. Tim Burton's reboot came a little too early when CGI just wasn't ready yet. But after 10 years, technology had finally caught up to be able to render believable apes. This is where Weta Digital comes in, the VFX company responsible for some of the best computer-generated effects in the industry. The first out of the trilogy, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, really sets the standard. We feel for Caesar after he loses his mother, and it's heartwarming to see when he gets adopted into a human family. Luckily, the family that takes him in is able to help develop his abilities and show him that humans can be kind. After attacking a neighbor, he gets put into a primate shelter where he eventually finds his purpose. With the exception of his family, all the humans he meets are pretty unkind, which eventually gives us the most powerful scene in the entire film, the moment that Caesar speaks.
No!
The second most important scene is where the retrovirus accidentally gets released thanks to Koba.
Frankie, get your mask on!
This right here is the beginning of the fall of mankind. Right here. Robert is the first carrier of what will be known as the simian flu. Caesar distributes the 113 to the other apes, and they escape the facility into the woods where they start their new civilization. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is where the war officially begins. A war that is first just a verbal threat made by Caesar after the humans discovered their habitat.
Apes! Do not want war, but will fight if we must.
It officially becomes a war once Koba attacks the human city. One of the most impressive shots in the film is when Koba attacks a tank. It's just amazing to see all the detail. And now my thoughts on the new film.
This is our last stand. And if we lose, it will be a planet of apes.
War for the Planet of the Apes is one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen. Weta Digital has made their CGI even more convincing than the previous film. I think we've finally come to the point when I can't tell what's real and what's fake anymore.
Human gets sick, ape gets smart.
But this film is much more than just the visuals. The pacing and the storytelling unfold in a way that makes you feel like you're one of the apes. It's really a movie about them, which is extremely unique.
You're him. You're Caesar. We've been searching for you for so long.
I did not start this war. I fight only to protect apes.
Human gets sick, ape gets smart. Then human kill ape, but not me. I run.
In this film, we finally learn why the humans don't speak in the original movie. The simian flu has evolved, growing a mutation in some people which causes them to lose the ability to speak. We meet a younger Nova in the film, the same exact character from the original. We also discover that she's among the humans that has lost the ability to speak. Now we know why she never talked to Taylor. Overall, I give War for the Planet of the Apes an A+. The film is a masterpiece. I rarely give an A+ rating, but I think this deserved more attention. Sadly, it had the lowest box office out of the trilogy and was quickly forgotten. I hope this franchise review gives you a new appreciation for the films and also how they're made. I hope you enjoy the review. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
The Earth has aged nearly 700 years since we left it. The men who sent us on this journey are long since dead and gone. You who are reading me now are a different breed. I hope a better one. I can't help thinking somewhere in the universe there has to be something better than man.